to NHP's On Your Mind. This is a special 8-part series here on 99 FM where we engage with various healthcare professionals to unlock a number of extremely relevant topics related to the well-being of Namibians at this particular time. So we're addressing the mental, psychological, and physical impacts, and we're able to share valuable information and advice to you, the Namibian public. In this episode, we're talking stress, oil on the fire of illness, and we're joined in studio by Klara Mudge, nutritionist and wellness advisor. Hi, Klara.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Happy to be here.
Yeah, no, we're very excited to have you here. Speaking of stress, we hear this word just being thrown around all the time. I know I've used it various times. I'm so stressed. But what is stress?
So stress is something, like you say, we all experience, and it is a feeling in response to being overwhelmed or facing a challenge. And more than an emotion, though, stress is actually a hardwired physical response that travels throughout the whole body. And it is good, mostly good. A little bit of stress is actually a neutral term, right? It has a very negative connotation.
Yes.
But by itself, stress is actually motivational and energizing by design. And in small amounts, it's great. It gets us to do things and perform at our best. But it becomes a problem if it goes on for too long. And if we don't return to that baseline, that rest level, then it becomes an issue for our mental and physical health.
Interesting that you would say that, and we'll touch back on it on the positive effects, because like you said, we see it as such a negative thing that our bodies go through. So let's talk about that. What impact does stress have on our bodies and also on our mental well-being?
So there are so many, and I can touch on a few of them. What happens in response to a stressful feeling is your adrenal glands release our stress hormones. So you might have heard a few of these. It's cortisol and adrenaline and noradrenaline, right? Yeah. And those hormones have loads of impacts and effects on the whole body. So I'll tell you about a few of those. What happens with adrenaline is it makes our heart beat faster and it raises our blood pressure, so causing hypertension, high blood pressure over time. Cortisol has another effect on our blood vessels. The inner lining, the endothelium of our blood vessels can actually become less healthy over time as a result of cortisol.
Okay.
So you can see how this is contributing to the bigger picture of cardiovascular disease, atherosclerosis, cholesterol buildup and things like that.
Which can lead to like heart attacks and strokes.
Precisely.
And such? Okay.
So it's quite commonly accepted that high stress is associated with heart disease.
Okay.
Another way stress affects the body is our digestive system. So you may have, big time. So you may have heard of the gut-brain axis, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there is a network of nerves running from the brain to the nervous system around our gut called the enteric nervous system or the intestinal nervous system. And you would be aware of that when you have the sensation of butterflies. And that's great. It's good. But what that essentially is it is a disruption of the natural rhythmic contractions of our gut. And over time, we can see conditions like IBS.
IBS would be?
Irritable bowel syndrome.
Okay.
So something you've heard about a lot, and it has a big stress component to it, right? It is an irritability in the gut. It's an irritability in those natural rhythmic movements that are supposed to be constant in the body. And so stress disrupts that. And so we see that in IBS. Heartburn is another symptom that can often have stress as its root cause because our gut lining becomes more sensitive to the stomach acid, and then you can feel heartburn more easily. So that's why heartburn is often associated with stress. So we're seeing it affect our cardiovascular system. We're seeing it affect our digestive system. Another big one is weight gain. So cortisol, one of those stress hormones that is released in response to stress, actually makes us crave carbs and highly palatable foods because
it makes so much sense
now.
now.
Yes, exactly. That compulsive reach for snacks
and never feeling full.
Exactly.
So you need the carbs and the sugar.
Because essentially your body knows you're under stress. And from a purely biological point of view, your body wants you to replenish those energy stores.
That's what that is.
To deal with the stress.
Okay.
But we are, we're doing the comfort foods and everything, and we're staying stressed, and it becomes like a chronic situation. Now, on top of that, so stress makes us crave more carbs, and we're eating more carbs and more highly palatable, high-calorie foods.
Yeah.
But then, under that stress state, the body also stores those extra calories as fat around our belly fat around our visceral organs to
Yeah.
protect us. It's all, the body does everything it does to protect us.
Okay.
So it's putting fat around our main organs, the liver, heart, and so on, to protect those organs essentially. But belly fat and visceral fat is different to other fat in other places of the body because it's what we call metabolically active. What that means is it releases immune messenger chemicals known as cytokines, which are associated with inflammation. And inflammation, as we all now know, is an underlying trigger or an underlying mediator of a lot of common illnesses like heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune conditions. So eating under stress is not ideal, as you can see, because it makes us gain weight around our middle, but it also makes us gain the less favorable, less healthy kind of fat.
So which means it's just like it's a cycle that's been perpetuated here.
Very much. So we've looked at cardiovascular, digestive system, we've looked at weight gain, and stress also affects our immune system. So in the short term, stress gives us a little bit of a boost in immunity, right? But if we're going into the space of chronic stress where it's just carrying on for too long, then we actually see a dampening of the immune system. And then we are way more prone to invaders and pathogens and, external infections. And we're also less good at healing
than would you normally be.
Exactly, because of that chronic stress.
Timeline of because it says in the short run it's fine, but in the long run, what is the long run? What are we talking timeline wise?
Really good question, and that differs from person to person.
Okay.
Right? Like if you look at prehistorically, we're probably meant to be stressed when we are in immediate danger, like being chased by a predator. But then that threat goes away, we can rest and we can calm down again. So we all have a different resilience and a different threshold.
Okay.
But I think you would know where that point is. Like being stressed for months on end is going to start affecting your immune system.
But why is it that we are just so stressed then?
There are various reasons for that. Okay. So our personal response to stress is determined by our upbringing. There's a genetic component to it. There is past experiences, past traumatic experiences. Our lifestyle has a lot to do with it. And researchers have found that the pace of modern life, the grip that technology, our smartphones have on our lives, isn't helping, right? So modern diets, modern life is probably exacerbating our personal stress response and our resilience to stress. But yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming. We're going to be diving a little bit deeper in part 2, so you will definitely be back. And that was NHP's On Your Mind. Join us for part 2. Klara Mudge will be back, nutritionist and wellness advisor, where we will be digging deeper into stress and how it impacts us.